Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears presented by the Fantasyholics Podcast Network. With us, as always, is Castle Black, Brian Bruner, Mr. Oviedo here. We're resting wide receiver one room, Zach Rom, for the playoffs. We had a eventful Week 17, many Super Bowls decided. If you're playing in a Week 18 league, nope, don't join it next year. I won 2 of my title games. Brian, how many Super Bowls did you take home?
Ended up of my 61 dynasty leagues. The breakdown was I have about 20 that are rebuild mode. So figure I had 41 teams that I wanted to compete with. Ended up in 15 finals, and I only won 5 of the 15. So I got 5 first place and 10 second places. So it worked out well money wise. I get 8-9 times your buy-in for the wins. I usually get 2 or 3 times my money for the second places. And then I also did end up in some third place games, won a few of those, which got me my buy-in back. And then I did have, I believe, 2 leagues where I did not win, but I got like double the buy-in back for having the most points scored overall on the year. So, successful year. I was doing the math. I have enough to, pay all the league dues for my next year and still have some money floating in league safe to grab a jersey or a pair of sneaks or new wrestling shirt. Or had to get the John Cena one. Got me all choked up in his retirement match, so I had to make the impulse buy there, get a Cena shirt. But yeah, man, so good year. Last year, I was telling you before we went on air, I went to 13 finals last year and actually won 12 of them, which was fucking insane. It'll never happen again. So I was hoping more of like a 50-50 split this year, but 5 out of 15 for me. And my main league, my love of my life league, my league record, I got 3rd place in that. Got bounced by the eventual champion in the Final Four round, and did manage to win the 3rd place game and get my buy-in back there. So I will just leave that money with my commissioner and not pay for next year, basically.
Man, winning the Super Bowl is not only money and bragging rights, but playing with house money next year. It just must be even that much sweeter.
For sure, man. The bragging's nice, but the money's pretty fucking cool too.
I won the Super Bowl in my longest running, most important league. I hadn't won since 2011 or 2012. And in both of my Super Bowls, for whatever reason, thankfully I didn't have many players overlapping at all. So I was set. I couldn't have a good day in one league and a bad day in another. And for whatever reason, I had a lot of Christmas Day players that played well. I had Javonte, Pickens, Lamb. And my opponent had a lot of Saturday players that did bad. He had Josh Jacobs, Jaden Reed. So I was sitting pretty as of like Saturday night. Like, all right, I avoided Derrick Henry, Brock Purdy, Bijan. It was a low-scoring Super Bowl in both of mine, but dodged a big bullet because there were some ridiculous scores this week.
Oh yeah, one of my teams that won had like 3 of the crazy stud games. It was like Derrick Henry, Bijan, and Purdy were all on one roster. So like I won that game by all over 100. And then but when you play in as many leagues as all you have to do is just look at your scorecard. And for that one league where I won by 100, I was a 1 seed and I got beaten by 120 by a team that had all those studs. So if you had Josh Jacobs, there's plenty of guys that underperformed and left you high and dry.
Gibbs vanished in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Puka almost had a tremendous last series, but yeah, you worked so hard all year, and then Week 17.
I was out sick as a dog last week, so I didn't get to talk about any of my my teams that were going into the Final Four. I would say the beat that just stuck in my ass worse than any of them this year was on my South Harmon, the Grind League. That's the league where they're actually doing a podcast about the league itself every week, and it's been really cool to be a part of. Well, I was the 1 seed, ended as the 1 seed in that league, got the first round bye. They do 7 playoff teams like NFL style, so only 1 team gets the bye, and I got the bye. heavily favored going into the Final Four match. Jordan Love's one of my two quarterbacks. He takes that fucking nasty concussion hit after only scoring like 3 points. I think it was still the first quarter when he went out. So even with losing one of my two quarterbacks, I end up losing that fucking game by 3 points. I'm pretty sure Jordan Love would have gotten at least 3 more fucking points had he played 3 more quarters of football. And then I go to the finals and probably win. So like that one broke my fucking heart, man. Because like I just conceded that I was losing when Jordan Love went out early in the week there. And then I actually managed to fight all the way back and get within 3 points with the Sunday or the Monday night game that week. I had like 1 or 2 guys in that, and it just that one I'll remember every time I hear the name Jordan Love for the rest of my life. I'll just remember that fucking beat, and that's the one that I'm losing sleep over.
That one stings. There's probably a million stories like that, and heartbreak, the joy of victory, and the agony of defeat.
Yep, but you're in 12-team leagues. I think just literally every league I play in is 12-team, and then I have one 14-team league. So based on 12-team league, you have a 7% chance of winning. 11 people lose, 1 person wins. It's a 7% chance. So you can't quit fantasy or freak out that you lost. Especially if you've ran into these buzzsaws like Bijan and Derrick Henry, and if you were last week in the Final Four, you ran into Puka, you ran into the guys that just had these 40, 50-point games. You almost can't even beat yourself up about it or feel bad. It sucks, but it happens. That's why the whole Jordan Love one killed me 2 weeks ago, because that was literally from a dirty fucking hit, concussion, went out. It was a lineup league, so best ball couldn't save me and like adjust somebody else in there. You're not benching Jordan Love in a fucking super flex league, in the Final Four matchup. So it is what it is, man. I'll, hopefully win that league again win that league at some point, but we'll see.
Better luck next year.
Right.
All right, well, we'll jump into the Week 17 review. Feels like it was a long time ago, that Christmas Day game in Washington. I was ready to write off Jakrowski Merritt. I thought he was what he was, a 7th-round pick. And early that morning, Chris Rodriguez was ruled out. Guess too much eggnog. And holy cow, Merritt is kind of making a case to not be replaced in the draft or free agency.
Yeah, Bill was a kind of a weird story because he didn't really have many dud games where he got work. Anytime they gave him a significant, or it seems like, I'd have to pull up his game log, but it seems like anytime he got significant work or was the primary back there, he did pretty well, I think. I don't think there was any games where he was getting 15, 20 touches and he just dudded. I will vet that, but it just seems like when given the chance, he was pretty good. Chris Rodriguez is nothing special. He's a serviceable NFL back, but I don't see why they don't at least give him a shot to be the guy in the offseason. I think that team has enough needs that they're probably not drafting a running back, or at least not drafting a running back highly. But we'll see. The NFL draft is always tricky. Teams you don't think are going to draft a running back draft one, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Bill certainly made a case. We'll see what happens this week. I assume they give him plenty of touches this week.
Yeah, he only had 4 games where he played over 50% of the snaps.
I mean, I think he did decent or well in those games, right?
Yeah, his breakout, I guess could be his breakout game, week 5 versus the Chargers. He only had 47% of the snaps, but he was RB5 on the week. His opening week, he only had his first game in the NFL, 10 rushes, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Yep. He had 4 really solid games this year, and all 4 of them, they gave him the ball.
Yeah.
It's like the whole Michael Wilson thing. Like, oh, hey, here's this guy on our bench that's been here for a while. Maybe we should give him the ball.
Yeah. So I think he has a good shot to be either the main guy or at least a 1-2 punch with someone next year. So interesting to keep an eye on him during the offseason, see what happens with his dynasty value and stuff like that. I mean, pretty much a lost season for the Manders. They shut down
Very
Daniels, Terry, and Debo. Okay, serviceable points wise, I guess, but I don't think anybody's bragging that they've got Terry or Debo on their championship team. So with the Cowboys, Javonte is a free agent. He was in on a 1-year deal. I think he did enough that they signed him. I'd be pretty shocked if they saw what he was able to do and just say, okay, thanks for your service. You can fucking walk. Because I'm pretty sure he's not going to warrant – running backs just don't warrant big contracts anymore, period. Certainly not ones like Javonte that are really only having their first good season. So I could see the Cowboys giving him a cute little 2-year front-heavy $10 million deal or something like that, rather than try to play the free agent market or draft somebody. He really fit in well there with what they were trying to do, and happy for him after all dealing with all the injuries and everything. And then figure Pickens and Lamb are all both locked in for long term to be high end wide receiver assets. Dak had another very, very solid year for fantasy. I think he's probably going to end up as quarterback 4 or 5, somewhere in that range after this week. So as long as that defense stinks and the offense likes to be high powered, the Cowboys are a gem for fantasy for the most case.
Well, the run defense was getting a lot better, and they released Trayvon Diggs today. So better days ahead. I think Jared's going to make a splash in the draft this year. I think the Cowboys have multiple firsts, if I remember correctly, where they gave up multiple firsts.
No, they gave up because they gave up first to get Quinn Williams. They gave up 2 to get him. So I think they don't. I'm not sure if they have somebody else's first or that was another first that they already owned from somebody else that they gave up for Williams. I'm not sure, but I think they'll probably
look the Parsons deal.
Yeah, right. There you go. So I think they'll look pretty similar. I don't see us looking at the Cowboys offense in the fall as much different as we do now. I'm pretty sure it's going to be those 2 receivers, Javonte, Dak. Ferguson will be, as long as he's the main tight end there, he'll always be in that top 12 or so ranked tight end.
Do we really need to discuss that Lions-Vikings game? God, that was huge. That was Max Brosmer had less than 10 completions, I think. Or
Goff, I mean, talk about the dudes that just crippled you for your title game. Jared Goff, if you started him or he was one of your 2 quarterbacks in a super flex, I mean, he got you. Depending on some scoring systems, like some leagues are a little bit stiffer with fumbles. You lose more points for fumbles or picks in other leagues. I saw people post where he went negative or had a point, given that he had the 3. I think it was 3 fumbles and a pick. So yeah, I mean, just complete disaster there. Gibbs was a complete disaster. Amon-Ra was, serviceable, I guess, but he certainly didn't win you anything. And then J-Mo was, almost a ghost after he had been so hot all year. So yeah, just complete disaster game for them. The Vikings defense is definitely legit. They beat the Lions 23-10 with Max Brosmer doing nothing. And so yeah, that's how good that defense has been. They just shut down arguably the scariest offense in the NFL. If they stay intact and they seem to be that same type of defense going into next year, you really have to take that into account for your weekly rankings and your start sets. I mean, you were better off benching Jahmyr Gibbs this week. As insane as it sounds, and no one on earth did it. But if you really took a step back and looked at how much the Vikings were shutting people down, you should have put in, Javonte Williams or Bill Krosky-Merritt instead of Gibbs, and it would have been a substantially smart move for you. So, yeah, the Vikings are legit. The offense, God hope they do something differently next year for Justin Jefferson. But, yeah, Jefferson's going to be a weird one for offseason rankings, and where do you draft him next year, and what's he worth for Dynasty in the offseason? It's easy to call him a buy low, but, I mean, if it's still a similar outlook and J.J. McCarthy doesn't become better or they don't change the scheme up, I mean, we could be looking at the same exact stats for Jefferson.
Yeah, the Gibbs thing was crazy. I wrote it in the Thursday preview. I said start Gibbs and pray, but I was sitting there thinking, you bench Gibbs because I would have hell to pay if he had a monster game. But
Right.
Gibbs has not had a great year. I don't know if that's on the offensive line. The Lions offense was scoring points, but Gibbs had 5 games under 50 yards rushing. And then in his 2 games versus the Vikings this year, first week, week 9 rushes for 25 yards. This past week, 17 rushes for 41 yards. That's it. The Vikings have Gibbs's number.
He had some brutal games too. He was on a little bit of a red light, green light back and forth where he was having monster games. He had some classic Jahmyr Gibbs 35-point games in there, so that's why it's just impossible to ever even consider benching him. But yeah, he was kind of red light, green light, and then it was a couple down games in a row. Unfortunately, when you needed him most there. But I mean, takeaways just going into next year. Any takeaways we're giving now, as far as like what we're looking like for redraft next year, is completely not taking into account free agency moves, not taking into account any like off-season trades or taking into account what teams do in the draft. So, but just looking at this team now, Gibbs is still going to be a high-end, first-round pick, as he should be. I believe he is that explosive. It was just some kind of weird stuff and good scheming and very good defenses, I think, that slowed him down. So he's still way up there. Amon-Ra is still a first-round level caliber pick. Jared Goff's your classic borderline QB1, excellent for super flex leagues. So don't really see much different there. I think the interesting thing is going to be, do the Vikings do something to get Jefferson more valuable or more involved? What do they do with their backfield? I don't know. I think Aaron Jones is only on the 1 year, maybe a 1 year deal. I'm not sure, but I have to look into that. But do they just roll out Mason and Jones again? Do they draft a rookie? Do they sign a free agent? So a lot to be determined for the Minnesota side.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have an undecided future, it seems like. Kyler Murray, Tua, even some Lamar nonsense this week. I think it's kind of smoke and mirrors or just to get clicks, but can the Ravens move Lamar? Do they?
No, I don't think they ever would. I think he's locked in there. It almost to a fault. He's done so much with the MVPs and just the overall winning percentage of the team since he's been there. He's been so good that they're kind of stuck with him to a fault. Like, even if it becomes like a detriment to the team, they'll drag it out 2 years longer than they need to.
Yeah, we talked too long about that catastrophe.
Yeah, man. So the mighty Chiefs, how they have fallen.
They have fallen.
You lose. That's another one where it's going into next year. Mahomes, I think modern medicine has gotten well enough that from an ACL tear, Mahomes will be ready for week 1 next year. I'd assume so. Maybe
it was late. It was
late.
And a lot of times they'll wait for the swelling to go down. Malik Neighbors didn't have his surgery immediately. Malik Neighbors' surgery, he was a month or 2 after the tear.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, something to keep an eye on. If Mahomes is not ready to start the season, you obviously can't be any bit excited about Rice or Worthy, or if Kelsey doesn't retire, if he's rolling back out for another year. But my gut, I feel like they'll have him ready. They just seem to have gotten better and better with these major injuries and surgeries and recovery time. So I think Mahomes will be back. If he is back, he's a quarterback 1. Rice is locked in as a wide receiver 1 as long as Mahomes is there. We'll see what happens. My gut says Kelsey retires. I don't think he's coming out for age 38 season or whatever that ends up being.
Kind of 2 back-to-back not great games for the Broncos that got whooped by the Jaguars at home and barely beat whatever's left of the Chiefs. Interesting. Interesting. Doesn't really have a whole lot of play on next year, like you said. A long time from now, a lot could change, a lot could happen. But surprised, I thought the Broncos were going to flatten the Chiefs.
Yeah, divisional game. They have you know each other well. Broncos side, R.J. Harvey really did come around. Just not even so much by getting a ton of work, but just had a nose for the end zone, and they really did get him involved in the passing game more. So he was a nice reward if you did take him and just kind of suffer through it early on. He did become a very reliable, like higher end RB2 for you, and obviously with him, I know he's not super young, but with him only going into his second year, he's a rising star asset for Dynasty. He'll be up there. I'd assume for most people he's like a top 12 Dynasty running back given his role, given the offense he's on, given his age, or his you know only being in his second year. Not so much his age, but pleasant surprise there. Sutton had a decent year. You'd you'd like to see maybe Pat Bryant or somebody take a
Yeah.
step up and really become the two. He flashed a little bit. Um, Bo Nix, dynasty wise, redraft wise, he'll still probably be a top 12 guy, I'd assume. I think he finished the year as like quarterback 8 or 9 ish in that range. He's young enough too that he's locked in. Solid dynasty asset. We'll see what they do in the playoffs. They make any noise.
Yeah, that defense is solid. I think we've seen the last of Evan Ingram. He looks washed.
Yeah,
Um, Curious to see what Harvey would do with a full workload. I don't think Sean Payton's one to lean on one running back that much. You had the um, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram years. You had the J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey this year. That might have been just a luxury, but Harvey's had a really strong end of the year with Dobbins out of the way. He's been a RB 12 or better, 7 times
there you go.
since week 4. So
Yeah, yeah,
get
definitely,
involved in the passing game a little bit more.
definitely an exciting piece for Dynasty for sure. And yeah, we'll see what they look like in the playoffs. But I agree. Peyton's always been a 1A 1B guy, so I think Harvey will thrive in that role more so than just they ever make him like a heavy workload guy. I just don't think that's how Sean Payton operates.
Right.
There might be a game or two where he just ends up having that happen just due to circumstances or maybe the other running back getting hurt early in the game, but I don't think that'll ever be the game plan. And I think that's probably good for Harvey. They keep him as the main receiving back. They give him important goal line touches. Other than being the Saquon Barkley bell cow role, what Harvey has there is like the next best thing you could hope for a running back.
Yeah, I think we all want bell cow backs, and we want running backs to get like 400 touches, like it's 2002 with LaDainian Tomlinson and Priest Holmes. But in a way, save some tread on the tires. Have like a 65-35 split. It'll keep your players healthier longer. They won't be gassed on 35 touches at the end of the game, unless you're Derrick Henry.
Jesus, that was wild. I was just watching him, and I don't know how many I'd have to go through and count, but of those, the 10 losses I had in finals, I think Derrick Henry was directly responsible of at least half of those. Like, just if you played him, you certainly could have overcome him. Especially if you had Bijan. Bijan almost gave you the same amount of points that Henry did with his bananas outburst last night, and you could have had Purdy. You could always overcome those crazy games. There was teams that beat Alvin Kamara on the 6 touchdown Christmas game, years back. So it can happen. I personally overcame Kyle Pitts's week 1, chaos for the first round of the playoffs. So it happens. But I was just watching Henry get all those touchdowns, and I had him on I think 3 or 4 of my teams that ended up winning. So it was like, all right, cool. I'm winning these leagues, but I'm losing these leagues. So it was a weird place for me to try to like, register and feel emotions about what Henry was doing, because it was just again a symptom of being in too many leagues like I am. I couldn't even really like celebrate or be upset. It was just just trying to do the math. Like, all right, well, what's the buy-in on the leagues that I'm getting killed in versus the buy-in on the ones that he's winning me, and I'm trying to, find some happiness there. But yeah, man, he was cooking, and he middle of the year we were talking. I know he came up on one of these shows, and I brought up that I think one of you guys brought up that he had been struggling. He's kind of looking almost like a bust, and I just remember saying, yeah, he's certainly not what you drafted him to be, but he's been getting you 11 points, 10 points, 9 points. Like he hasn't cost you any weeks. And I definitely remember bringing up, he's the type of guy that as the season wears on, people want to tackle him less, and he's built for like those cold weather games. And my God, he looked as good in that game as he has in any game of his NFL career. And he's a former 2,000-yard rusher and all-pro player, and he looked better in that game than he maybe ever has in his entire football career. Just fucking remarkable.
He got a trademark stiff arm in late in that game. He flicked that 190-pound safety off of him. As a Colts fan, I feel so much better to have him out of the AFC South. Where is Henry getting drafted next year? I still think he has a decent amount left in the tank.
He certainly fucking looked like it. That did not look like a man on his last leg. So I believe they did give him a multi-year contract. I think there's no cutting him. I don't know. He announces like a surprise retirement, regardless what happens if they make the playoffs or if they don't. So I'd assume he is locked in as their running back for the Ravens next year. And if that's the case, I'd assume he probably gets drafted in a similar range that he did this season, like a higher end second round pick. Maybe somebody even reaches on him at like the 1-2 turn. If if there was maybe a heavy running back run in the first round, somebody grabs him so they can lock him up for their long wait for their 3-4 turn pick. So yeah, I'd assume so, barring something weird happening, him retiring, him moving on, or the Ravens, I don't know. I guess retiring would be the only possibility.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know he skipped Texans Chargers, but that game wasn't that exciting. Man,
it wasn't.
Willis has a pulse. Like Malik Willis doesn't suck.
He might be starting somewhere next year.
Minnesota.
He is a free agent. I mean, he could start somewhere. I think he's a very legitimate shot to be brought in as a starter for someone. Maybe bring him in one of the teams, the shitty teams, the Raiders, whatever that are going to be drafting a high end rookie quarterback. Malik Willis comes in as like a bridge guy or something along those lines. But I would not be surprised if somebody gives him a shot to be their starter next year. And then just real quick, I did want to just touch on with the Chargers. Super disappointing year for Ladd. One of my favorite dynasty assets. I not only already had a good amount of Ladd, I traded for him a few different spots in the middle of this season when he was struggling because I was able to get him for certainly cheaper than he was going for in the offseason. I do think brighter days ahead. I think the biggest story with everybody on the Chargers, Justin Herbert included, was that offensive line was ravaged with injuries this year. I mean, they were decimated. And then as soon as one guy would come back, the other guy got hurt, and then two more got hurt. And it was as poor of an offensive line as you could put together, not because of skill, but just because of pure injury. I mean, there was practice squad guys starting for them weekly. That's something that I assume improve. We're looking at they'd have Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater back on both tackles. That makes a world of difference. I mean, I don't give a shit how good your quarterback is, how good your skill players are. If you don't have an offensive line, you're not doing anything in this league. So I do view Ladd as a really nice buy low this offseason for Dynasty. He's very good. When he gets opportunities, he does great things. He obviously has a good connection with Herbert. I think those two are going to be very good for years to come. So that's I'll tell you right now, before the season's over, that'll be one of my big off-season flag plants is that Ladd's still very good and worth buying.
I echo all of that. They've got such a good young offense. Herbert, Hampton, Ladd, Aronde Gadsden, and losing two significant players like goes to show how paper thin the offensive line was, I guess, to begin with, because they had nobody to replace him. Herbert was sacked 54 times, second most in the NFL, only one behind Geno Smith and Cam Ward. He was pressured 268 times. That's far and away the most in the NFL. Fifth most was Jacoby. Well, sixth most was Trevor Lawrence at 201. So he had 67 more pressures in fifth place. Makes me wonder who was pressured the least, who had the most time. Brock Purdy, well, he didn't play a full season either. I'm trying to find like a fairly good comparison of players that played quarterbacks that played a fullish season. Brock Purdy. Aaron Rodgers played 15 games and had 110 pressures.
Yep.
Herbert had 268. That offensive, I could play on that offensive line.
And another factor is Herbert. It can move. He's not a Tom Brady, Joe Flacco statue back there. Herbert can run. He's elusive in the pocket. He's also big as fuck and strong. So like he's not just going down like a sack of potatoes if somebody gets pressure on him. Like he can stiff arm people. He can move out of the way. He was still just getting his ass handed to him every snap. So I just think much better days are ahead for all those guys. Even the like QJ, for example. QJ had a nice season overall when you look at his numbers. He started the season on fire. It was like, holy shit, I guess we were wrong about QJ, but he's another dude. He's still on a rookie contract. Pretty sure he'll be locked in there as the 1A, 1B with Ladd. He's another guy that I can't imagine most people value him that highly. You're probably looking that he had a slower back half of the season. I think QJ's
horrible, man.
Another solid buy because you could probably get him for very little over the course of the offseason. And I cannot imagine they're not substantially better next year with a better offensive line.
I think we've seen the last of Keenan Allen pouring out for Keenan Allen. That was tough to watch. Speaking of tough to watch, the Texans backfield might be like the second worst in the NFL behind the Chiefs. I think Mixon's retiring. Chubb might follow him into retirement. And did Woody Marks play a full game? Did he?
I think he might have finally played a full game this week. I think 75 yards, 74 yards, something like that. So I think he'll probably be involved with that backfield. They're certainly a candidate to draft maybe draft a back or bring in a free agent. But I think Marks will at least still be a part of their plans. But yeah, he was hit or miss. I mean, he ended up being a top 24 running back, I think, on the season, just overall. Probably at least close to that, I'd assume.
Very close, 27.
27, okay. And he missed. I know he started most games, but he missed plenty of all the games that he played in. So who knows if he can get the health right, do a little more stretching and better diet this offseason. Maybe he plays more snaps next year.
Well, we touched on Ravens, Packers. Yep. Christian Watson, a thing with Malik Willis. Who knew? Man, that Cardinals game was. I was pretty bummed. I was expecting a bonanza, 30, 40 points a team, and man, the West Coast team traveling east got bit again.
Luckily for the Cardinals' sake, it was straight garbage time, but Jacoby ended up getting you like 20, 22 points. They force-fed McBride to get him that record, and he got in the end zone, so he finally had another big game. McBride, unfortunately, he was one of the reasons I did not make my League of Record finals because he carried me all year, and in week 16 he got you his by far worst game in like months. So yeah, that was tough. But if you did manage to get to your finals with McBride, he went right back to his nuclear self. And Michael Wilson had another very good game. So again, all garbage and useless for the outcome of the game, but wonderful stuff for fantasy. The only real letdown there was Michael Carter didn't do anything. and some people were relying on him as like an RB2 or flex given what you were working with. But Joe Burrow, huge game. Jamar Chase got back into the end zone, double tapped the end zone actually. Higgins had a quiet game, so that might have cost some people that were in the finals with Higgins. But what is there to say? Chase Brown, holy shit, he went from like talking about cutting him in redraft leagues early on in the season, and then when Flacco got there, it still didn't start the revival for him right away. Flacco was more of like an instant revival for the receivers. But then within a week or two, Chase really started to come to life, and he was fucking fantastic. Uh, Chase Brown, I mean, he was just wonderful. Like he's been one of the best running backs in fantasy the last month and a half, 2 months. So yeah, good for him. Good for his value. I know was a low draft capital guy, but he's still locked in on a rookie contract. And given how many needs the Bengals have, I can't really see why they don't just have Chase Brown as their 1A week 1 next year. So yeah, he's a rising asset for sure, man. He really turned it on.
It is a tale of two seasons with Chase Brown. Like I remember looking at the stats and talking about it on the show, how he was getting blown up before the line of scrimmage. He was getting tackled before he even had the ball. In the first 6 weeks, Chase Brown didn't have over 47 yards rushing.
Yep.
Since week 7, he hasn't finished lower than RB13.
His worst game was RB13.
Yes, his worst game since week 7, RB13.
Yeah, remarkable. He's been so fucking good. Getting it done in the passing game, getting it done in the rushing game, getting it into the end zone in both capacities. Yeah, just he's been. I'd imagine Chase Brown. Once we get the lists of like players on championship teams, I bet Chase Brown is on quite a few.
Might have earned himself a new contract, be it in Cincy or elsewhere.
Yeah,
probably top 4 round pick next in the start in redraft. Not sure if he'll be that high in a startup. Running back shelf life is pretty short, but man, if the Bengals don't bring in anybody else to split the backfield with them, they have Taj Brooks, did nothing. Samaje Perine just like the jobber veteran guy for some third down blocking work. But
so I just wanted to look up his points per game finish. Even with how horrific that start to the season was, after yet another big game, I'm showing him as the running back 8 overall in points per game. And in regular PPR, no rushing bonuses or anything, but in just a full PPR normal scoring league, running back 8 on the year at 16.5 points per game, and that is with like multiple games of fucking nothing to start the season. So yeah, man, he really went nuclear. Good for him. Good for I there's like nobody I don't want to see succeed for fantasy. Even fucking the Cowgirls and the Giants and my Eagles' biggest rivals. Like I want to see Cam Scatterbo do well. I want to see Javonte do well. So yeah, man, good for him. We need more. We need more awesome running backs in fantasy football.
yeah, I was gonna do like the comparison game. Zach usually throws one of those out there, or we all bounce ideas off each other. But Chase Brown, I don't even know who you can compare him to. Nobody else. He's like right in a tier on his own. There's like the stud tier, and then there's the like fading injured timeshare tier, and then there's Chase Brown all by himself.
Yeah. Just to throw this out there while I have the points per game up, he finished. Again, we're not week 18, so I like to consider the points per game I'm looking at now is what we'll call the season. He was only, with being running back 8 at 16.5, he was decimal points behind Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's now running back 7 at 16.7, and then James Cook was running back 6 at 18.8. Guys that Chase Brown finished ahead of in points per game, notable names. He finished ahead of Kyron Williams in points per game. He finished ahead of Josh Jacobs in points per game, ahead of Amari Martin, ahead of Barkley, ahead of Genty, ahead of Bucky Irving, ahead of Breece Hall. So pretty fucking good.
Pretty good. pretty legit. I'll probably draft him too high next year if that offensive line doesn't get any help. I don't know. He did fine without a offensive line this year.
And just to touch on it, because I brought it up in the beginning of the season or preseason, I brought it up all season. Ashton Genty, who I said, fade at that draft cost. I remember saying, like, I think Zach looked it up for me when I was touching on it, how Bijan certainly had a solid rookie season, but he underperformed being a first round pick. And I believe it was Bijan finished as running back 17 per game his rookie campaign after being like a first round draft pick.
No.
That's exactly where Genty ended up finishing. Genty is running back 17 on points per game at 14.5. Certainly not a knock on him. I think no one ever has questioned his ability, but for him to be a first round pick or a high second round pick, you weren't doing that to get the running back 17. And I think much better days ahead. I think the Pete Carroll, Geno Smith experiment is done. They will address some changes there, and I think Genty is a very good player and should just be hard to call him a buy low for Dynasty. I'm pretty sure nobody's really selling him after what they paid to get him, but yeah, running back 17 on the year for Genty, so I'm basically exactly what Bijan did his rookie season. So that's one of my better takes, I guess, is how I felt about Genty this year.
Yeah, I thought the Raiders were going to Raider, and they did just that. And they might be in for an encore when they take Fernando Mendoza first overall in the draft.
Yeah, get a good new offensive-minded coach in there. Find a decent D coordinator. Good, better days ahead for the Raiders, considering they are going to have the first overall pick. It cannot get worse than that, unless, of course, they draft Jamarcus Russell, and then it can actually get worse after having the first overall pick.
Oh man, the Brown Steelers might have been worse than Lions Vikings. That game was just
trash.
Not much to say.
Yeah, I think Rodgers pretty much came out right off the rip and said this is his last year. I don't think there's any talk of him being back as their quarterback. So, I'm pretty sure after what we've seen from Warren and Gainwell, that will be their exact backfield next year. I'm pretty sure they are happy with that. They both ended up working out for fantasy. They had dud games here, which that stunk because they had both been really hot and they probably helped get you into the playoffs, and you probably didn't bench them. So that was tough. But they both played very well this season. So I'd assume that that's their backfield again next year. So the Caleb Johnson truthers might have to wait another year before he really gets any work.
DK might have to wait a couple of years.
Yeah, but I mean, DK will be there. They gave him that mega contract, so he'll still be their one next year. We'll see what ends up happening with the quarterback. With the Browns, I think the big shiny happy thing to look at there is Harold Fannin. He really did show that he's a tight end one for fantasy. I have a ton of Harold Fannin in my dynasty leagues, which I'm pretty hype about. I think he's clearly locked himself into like tight end 5, 6 or so. If you're looking at like dynasty rankings, given his age, given his role, gray area there is did Shador Sanders do enough? Did he show enough to them to say, fuck it, here's the keys, or you're at least our locked in week 1 starter over the offseason? Pay attention. I don't have the answer for that. I don't think anybody does, but we'll see. He certainly had some nice moments and showed that he could move the offense at times. So
yeah, the Browns, they're intriguing in a way. They have enough okay pieces. I hope Judkins' leg isn't that bad. You got to think he starts the year on the pup. But that defense with Judkins, Cedric Tillman showed some signs of life. Harold Fannin completely replaced David Njoku in about 2 weeks. The Browns are going to be picking high again this year. The CBS mock that I see gives them Carnell Tate from Ohio State. I hate to mention his name. Deshaun Watson's still there. He's had almost 2 years to recover. Have we seen the last of Deshaun Watson? Are they just going to pay him to go away? Or is there any hope that he returns to somewhat of the guy he was in Houston?
If I recall, they opened up his practice window.
They did.
And like there was talk that he potentially be reactivated or whatever. With the stickiness of that contract and the fact that they have so many other needs, I could certainly see him just being in somewhat of a quarterback, battle in the preseason, off season, and at least having him out there competing with Sanders. Just if anything to, keep Sanders from just thinking he has the job more so than that they want Watson to start. But we can think back to a time far, far and away like pre-COVID where Deshaun Watson was really fucking good. It's been a long-ass time since we saw that. But who knows, maybe all this time injured and just watching these young kids get started ahead of him and hearing people talk shit about him, who knows, maybe that ignites something in him. Maybe he trains hard in the offseason and we at least get some type of quarterback battle there. I have some Deshaun Watson dynasty shares. He's sitting on IRs in all of them, so I'm not going to cut him anywhere. See what happens.
A little part of me is afraid that if the Browns get Carnell Tate this year, and you know that the Browns are going to Brown, just like the Raiders are going to Raider and the Jets are going to Jet, do the Browns get Jeremiah Smith in 2027 also and just torpedo one of the best receiver prospects in a long time?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. It's a long time away.
Long time.
Fun part about the NFL is shit. Team circumstances and stuff just changes so dramatically year to year. The Browns do always seem to Brown, but we'll see there. So Tyler Shuck. Chris Olave. Chris Olave is the wide receiver 6 on the year. Actually, let me check points per game. Points per game wise, Olave is wide receiver 7 on the year. He's just been nuclear with Shuck. Shuck's played well. They seem to have just kind of ignited things and gotten some fighting spirit down there for the Saints. I think Shuck has clearly locked up the starting job for at least going into next year, given they did spend second round capital on him and they've got lots of other needs and he's played really well and Olave's gassing him up and so good for him. Again, love seeing that shit. Love seeing players succeed. I've got maybe not a lot, but I have a few Tyler Shuck shares that are just seem like free money now in Superflex leagues. So that's nice to see. Olave is going to end up playing 17 games, despite all the concussion fears and everything, and he really turned it up, man. He had an awesome year. For where you were able to trade for him and draft him in dynasty leagues and even redraft leagues, he was a huge winner this year.
I had a league where I rode Sam Darnold all year. I picked up Shuck late, and I pivoted to Shuck for the Super Bowl, and it paid off in spades.
Yeah, man.
Olave, it's so good to see him and McCaffrey coming back and having a full, healthy season. Then the Saints did him a solid by trading away Rashid Shaheed and giving him almost every target. Devon Vele went down. Alvin Kamara was hurt almost this whole second half of the year. It was Olave, the wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 on that team. It was good to see Olave's stock rose at least 3 rounds this season.
Definitely. Absolutely. With the Titans, it was nice to see Cam Ward start playing well. Well's maybe a stretch, but he certainly played better. He looked right. He looked like he belonged. So he was obviously going to have a very long leash. Even if he ended the season poorly, he was still going to be the guy there. Just cut ties with the first overall pick. So that was good to see. Chig Okonkwo did that thing like he does every year, where he has a nice couple games at the end of the season to get everybody excited. He was one of my 5 teams that won the title. Was a George Kittle team, and I wasn't able to get Tonjes, and Chig was literally the only tight end that was on my roster other than Kittle that wasn't hurt, and there was nothing on waivers because it was a dynasty league. So I put Chig in for my tight end spot in my final, and he did just fine. And so Chig got to hoist a title in one of my leagues. So
Feel good story.
yeah, hopefully they can just get him more involved before week 14 next year, but we'll see. I don't think we need to talk much more about the Titans. Trevor Lawrence. Fucking Trevor Lawrence, man. He really fucking lit it up from I'm not sure what week on, but he's been fucking awesome. Trevor Lawrence has been very, very good. Let's see where he's sitting. Points
Yeah,
per
they've won
game.
7 in a row.
Yeah, right. And it's not just him; it's the team. They're just looking much better, man. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence, points per game, quarterback 7, and that's over the whole course of the year, man. He really stepped it up. Without Brian Thomas really doing anything, without Travis Hunter being there, it was just Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, man. Parker Washington, what a role that dude's played. He's been wonderful. I mean, Christ, if you had the balls to put Parker Washington into your championship lineup, top 5 wide receiver on the week or something like that. Yeah, here you go. Just pulling up Lawrence's game log here. So starting week 12 at Arizona, he was quarterback 7, 5, 13, 1, 2, 5. Bang. That is balling. That is consistent. That is what everybody hoped he could do when he was the next great thing, the next Andrew Luck level prospect. So again, love seeing people succeed, man. Love it for fantasy, love it for scoring. So hopefully that just continues on, and he can be a stable quarterback one for us for years to come. Because he's very young still.
I like Lawrence. I want to believe. I'm not going to fade. I'm not going to hate him. It feels a little unsustainable. He's got a lot of rushing touchdowns, and he's not a statue, but he's not as mobile as his 10 rushing touchdowns would lead you to believe. I think there's some regression there, but in the rushing regression, he gets Travis Hunter back next year, ideally. Maybe Brian Thomas Jr. wants to play again, wants to play football again, gets a little bit better. And maybe the Jaguars will utilize Washington more frequently than fantasy whack-a-mole because he's been all over the place.
Awesome.
He is chasing points personified. It's so frustrating because he looks like a talented player. But like we talked about a few weeks ago, something has to give. They can't bring back Brian Thomas Jr., Hunter, Myers, Strange, Washington, Etienne. It's a loaded offense. Something has to give. I think every player is going to see a little dip in production next year. But enjoy it while it lasts. That defense is very, very good, too.
It is.
One of the best against the run in the league.
Big turnaround for them, definitely. And they have a lot of talented players on that defense, so it's not shocking that they're playing well. Josh Hines-Allen, Olakun is one of the best linebackers in football. They drafted what's the kid they drafted first overall?
Travis Hunter. Oh no.
Oh yeah, yeah, he can play defense too apparently. But no, I'm talking a couple years back was Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker, yeah.
Yeah, so certainly the talent there. Talking about the opposite of the Jaguars lighting it up and Lawrence shining is what the Buccaneers have done. Just heard that I think it was the Footballers podcast. Over the last 8 games, the Bucs are the 3rd worst team in football. There is the Cardinals who are 0-8 in the last 8, the Raiders who are 0-8 in their last 8, and the Bucs are 1-7 in their last 8.
The Colts are 1-7 in their last 8, so
okay, I guess they're tied. At least they lost their quarterback and have a reason that shit went sideways. The Bucs, all they did was get Evans and Godwin back healthy and Bucky Irving back healthy, and they've just gone to shit. So it's just I don't even know how to like gauge that or what to think about it, but just a weird scenario there. You figure Todd Bowles is potentially get fired after, I mean, 6-7 weeks into the year. You're talking about him as maybe the coach of the year, and they just whatever the fuck happened. I don't know if something happened behind closed doors or just some weird distension there, but man, what an absolute second half disaster. Emeka Ibuka went from Christ, he might be the wide receiver 2 or 3 in Dynasty to he's not even getting fucking 6 points a game. Just weird shit, man.
Like that famous meme of the little girl talking to Thanos. You got Evans, Godwin, and Bucky back. What did it cost? Emeka Ibuka.
Yeah, there you go. Just
man,
real odd one there. I have no means to even speculate what it looks like as far as do they bring Evans back again? Does Evans ask for a trade? Does Evans retire? Do they bring Godwin back as well? Is it just the same cast there? Jalen McMillan, one of your guys there, he has been a bright spot since he came back. He's more or less been like the wide receiver 1 target there. I know Godwin ended up having a really nice game this week. If you had the balls to start Godwin, he ended up getting in the end zone, getting over 100. So that was his like best game of the year basically. But yeah, what's for fantasy? It's if all those guys are back, it's convoluted. It's tough. It's hard to trust any of them because they're not a team that throws 50 times a game. Yeah, I don't even want to speculate on it because I have no idea what it looks like contractually for these guys or where their heads are at or what ends up happening with Bowles, but definitely a team to keep a close eye on the offseason because we're talking about a lot of good, talented wide receivers and players that we need to know if we can rely on them for fantasy or not.
Yeah, I can't see a world in which Bowles stays. They booed him off the field mercifully in the Atlanta loss. The Dolphins won this game with a combined 1 catch for 0 yards from Jalen Waddle and Darren Waller combined. 0 yards. The Bucks quit a while ago. MVP Baker was half a lifetime ago. Yeah.
It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one.
The fall off needs to be studied.
Do they is Quinn Ewers the starting quarterback for the Dolphins week 1 next year? He at least looks serviceable. I know that Waddle didn't do anything, but I mean he was at least like letting it fly out there and had some deeper connections. So I guess we'll see.
It feels like Stephen Ross is going to bring in a bigger name. It's going to be Kyler. It's going to be a draft pick. It's going to be, I don't know. I don't even know who.
Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Achane and Waddle, regardless of what happens with the head coach or the quarterback, there's still 2 predominant names there that are going to have carry value. Just Achane, he was kind of bulletproof this year. It didn't matter what was going on with that team. Achane was fucking awesome. He stayed healthy. He was wonderful. He was a guy that I tended to avoid early in his career, just thinking he was small and fragile. And towards getting into the beginning of the season last year, I purposely drafted a couple shares of Achane in startups and made a trade or 2 to acquire him, and it really did work out. He was wonderful and consistent this year. He might have had the highest like overall consistency rating of any of the top end running backs because you definitely caught some duds from Taylor and from James Cook and from Jacobs and even Gibbs. We talked about the huge amount of duds. Achane was just rock solid. Achane never once cost you a week.
Yeah, definitely moving him up my boards. Just like you said, I wasn't a big fan. I thought they would bring in a bigger, bulkier back. They brought in Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon's like 6'4", And Ollie
Huge.
Gordon for a while was a second round projected pick, slid to the fourth or fifth. I thought, well, they're gonna give A Chain 65% of the touches, 60% of the touches. Nope. All A Chain all the time.
Yep, 100%. So on to the probably MVP of the NFL this year, Drake May.
Yeah. Yep.
Put an exclamation point on it with that 5 touchdown game. Now, granted, it was against the ghost of the New York Jets, so that makes it a little less impressive. But May was really good this year. He did have, after the really hot start, he definitely had a pretty good stretch there where he was quarterback 11, 14, 12, 15, 11, where he wasn't necessarily costing you weeks, but he wasn't dominating the way that he had early in the season. But it's obvious that he's got the dog in him, man. He can play. He's their obviously long-term quarterback of the future. I'm pretty sure he's going to be viewed as a top 3, 4, 2 dynasty quarterback. Yeah, I mean, just given the age, given what he did this year, yeah, sky's the limit for May. You figure they will probably bring in a high-end wide receiver for him. He managed to do all this damage with 31-year-old Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins and Kayshon Boutte, and pretty fucking impressive. And he uses his legs, and he's got that prototypical Josh Allen, just big frame, can run, not afraid to run. So yeah, not much to really can say to knock him, other than again he had a bit of a slower stretch for a few weeks there. But yeah, man, you're not going to get him a hold of him for anything cheap. So it's not like he's a trade for. You just kind of, if you have shares of him, be happy about it and enjoy the ride.
Or if you're selling, get every penny.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, that's something I've always lived by with Dynasty is if someone gets to that point where if he really is being considered like the quarterback 2 in Dynasty, and if he's like the second overall pick in Superflex leagues, if you can trade him for that value, it's almost crazy not to, because there's nowhere to go from there. Like, best case scenario, he stays there as valued as the number 1, number 2 overall asset in Dynasty. But if anything happens, the Patriot starts to slip, he tears an ACL, he gets a concussion, he's not going to warrant second highest value in Dynasty prices again. So, yeah, if you can sell him for a monster haul, I'll take it. I say that about every fucking player in Dynasty. If you can sell Bijan Robinson right now, he's, as far as running backs go, with Gibbs having really fucked people over in the playoffs, that's left a little bit of a bad taste. Genty obviously didn't do what we all hoped. Bijan, I'd say, is like the clear hottest valued, highest valued, barely in his prime running back. If you can get some crazy 3 first-round pick package for Bijan Robinson, or 2 firsts and Chase Brown, or 2 firsts and RJ Harvey or something like that, do that shit immediately. Bijan can't get any more valuable than this. He's only going to be older and potentially get injured and stuff. So yeah, that goes for anybody on earth. Fucking Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase. If you get these hauls, man, sell them. It will make your overall value better.
Because we could wake up next season and unfortunately May could be Jaden Daniels. He could be Justin Herbert. He could be like, oh, he misses 8 games due to injury. The Patriots' offensive line is not. It's good, not great. It's a work in progress. There's the risk of May getting beat up. The receivers they have are just so hit or miss. I mean, I love May. Never been a Patriots fan, but watching this season and every advanced metric you could find on Drake May, he's the MVP. He is playing out of this world. Just incredible football.
Here's a good tie-in to something we talked about earlier with the Chargers. Better days ahead. If you could get Justin Herbert and like 2 firsts, or Justin Herbert, a first and like a nice running back or receiver for Drake May, I'm doing that instantly. Thank you. And because I fully believe that Justin Herbert is just about as good of a quarterback as Drake May. It's just in real life and in overall football. And they're going to get that offensive line back together. He's got better receiving weapons, I believe, than May has. So yeah, if you could pull something like that off, and I think that's a realistic trade.
Yep.
I feel like people, especially somebody that's like enamored with Drake May, that sees him win the MVP, or they just got their ass handed to him by his 5 touchdown performance and they lost their final because of Drake May. Somebody would pay that, and I would take that shit all day. Like Herbert and 2 firsts worth of value. Fuck yeah.
Smash accept.
Deserve. So we
The
got
Jets don't deserve any talk.
Nope, they don't.
Sorry, Jets. Sorry, Brees Hall. Better luck next year.
Hey, he got 1,000 yards rushing.
1,001?
He broke it. I don't know how far over 1,000 he went, but I heard
1 yard, 3 feet over.
Yeah. Yeah, the crown of his helmet landed at the 1,000-yard mark.
He broke the plane.
Yep. So the Seahawks, fucking Panthers. The Panthers, Ted. Oh God, yet another game. What did Ted have? A catch for 4 yards or something like that in this. Oh, good Lord. And I like Ted.
One catch, 5 yards. Yes.
There, 1 catch, 5 yards, and oh damn! And we all knew the Seahawks have a very good defense. They've been shutting almost all the positions down, so it was like you definitely weren't hype about starting Tet, but he's the wide receiver 1 on the team, and you'd like to see more than 1 catch for 5 yards. And I don't want to call him a buy low, but his value definitely took a hit these last couple weeks because he's just been basically. But he had that big game, I guess. But then other than that, it's been surrounded by some shit games.
You can't think that Bryce Young's at the wheel much longer. Unless they win a playoff game, then they'll sign him to a long-term extension.
I think he is at the wheel longer. He showed enough this year. They spent the first pick on him. I think he's there. I think he's locked in no matter what happens, at least for another year. But we'll see.
They've got some decent pieces around him, but I don't know.
Yeah. Seahawks. I mean, JSN up there with the fantasy MVP discussion. He's been so fucking good. Darnold really fell off stat wise and fantasy wise for sure, but they're I think the favorite to be the 1 seed, right? So Darnold's not going anywhere, which is great for JSN. He's got somebody that's going to hyper target him. AJ Barner became a viable option. I had a dude. Man, here's a bad beat for you. One of my championship losses, I had a guy in his 2 flex spots put AJ Barner and Michael Mayer in his fucking title game lineup league starting lineup. And he fucking beat me, and good for him. Like when I looked at his lineup and I saw those 2 in there in his flex spots, I was like, holy shit. And he kicked my ass. Like it wasn't even a close game. Like yeah, Barner's a nice story. I'd say he's very much in consideration of like a top 12 tight end for Dynasty, given his age and everything. So by the way, Charbonnet, 25 points, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hope anybody had the fucking balls to start Charbonnet in their title game, but
like the cojones to put Barner and Meyer in the flex.
Might have had
the same kind of wheelbarrow nut move there.
Yeah, the Stan Marsh nuts in the wheelbarrow.
I saw Walker running there. He looked like he was running an oatmeal, and I'm like, "Yep, that's the Kenneth Walker I know." My
hope would be Walker's gone, and they actually just give Charbonnet the full 1A role next year. Nice. Stop with this back and forth, and you never know who to start thing because Charbonnet kind of always performs when he gets the work. It's just a matter of they always want to get Walker in, and they just don't know who to go with. But so certainly the thing to keep an eye on. If Walker's gone and they don't bring somebody in, Charbonnet would be such a huge, breakout candidate. Big off season. Everybody, Charbonnet will be on the cover of some fantasy magazines because of how much all the experts will be gassing him up. But we'll see. Yeah, we shall see. Something to keep an eye on with the Panthers. Rico was a 1-year deal, I think. He played well enough that I could certainly see them bringing him back, maybe even like franchise tagging him, or considering the franchise tag for running back is like nothing. It's probably at this point like $6 million a year or something, like maybe even less than that. So we'll see. I know they gave Chuba
the long term. Yeah,
they gave Chuba a couple-year deal, so I'd assume he'd be back. So I could very well see in that backfield be the same as it was this year, just a kind of 1A, 1B with those two. Tet, they say he definitely took a hit value-wise, but he'll still be considered a good higher-end dynasty asset for receiver, just given his draft capital and given his age and given his overall stat line this year is going to end up looking pretty solid, despite the couple duds there.
Jalen Coker, get some Jalen Coker. He's a solid 1B/2.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Coker has looked good when in his limited spots to shine. Talk about some team that looking pretty good with some good young players. I mean, you figure week 1 next year for the Giants, Jackson Dart, Malik Willis, Cam Scatterbo, Wan'Dale Robinson had a nice fucking year. Obviously has a pretty good connection with Dart. Yeah, man. And they have I think they're going to end up with the second overall pick, which in their case, because they have Dart, they'll almost definitely be able to trade back and just pile assets up and, get a top 10, 12 pick along with a bunch of other shit on top of it. So I think brighter days ahead. I think the Giants will be a very trendy, fun to speculate on and draft the skill players going into next year. And the Raiders, Bowers, Genty, and let's talk about something else. Mendoza, yes, right?
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore. Maybe they'll go Dante Moore for like the West Coast connection, to like really, really, really gamble on the first overall pick. Man, they need so much more. They won't trade down because the Raiders will fumble it, or they'll just go for a big, like the home run hitter, like the Al Davis wanted. Speed. They'll take Carnell Tate first or something off the reservation. Typical Raiders foolishness.
Darius Hayward Bay. We'll draft Darius.
Repeat that.
Yeah, Genty, Bowers. They're really the only pieces we give a shit about for the off season and for next year. Again, Genty, not necessarily that you're buying him low, but if anybody that really relied on him or thought he was going to be more this year puts him on the trade block or just doesn't seem that hype about him, I'm perfectly fine considering Ashton Genty an RB1 still and paying a price like that because I do think he's talented enough, and I can't imagine whatever coaching staff, whatever scheme they bring in doesn't just go, okay, we've got Genty and we've got Bowers. The offense should revolve around those two and go from there.
They'll probably trade Max Crosby. The defense will get worse.
Right. So, yeah, get some Raiders off at they have to throw the ball every snap. Maybe Genty becomes like a 90 reception guy next year or something like that, just because they have no choice. So to my every fucking Eagles game has to be a heart attack for me waiting to happen. They go all the way through that game, they give up that fucking touchdown, and then the Bills got to go for 2, and then I have to just stand there with like my fucking shirt pulled over my eyes, like biting my cheek, just go, oh motherfucker! They missed the 2 point conversion. I was blown away.
Badly.
When you're talking like people that say that the NFL is scripted and everything, how much of a better script would that have been for Josh Allen to get the 2 point conversion and them to just march off into the sunset and high five all the fans and have the place erupt? But no, they have my villainous Eagles come in there and fucking win 13-12 on a missed 2 point conversion. Ugh, so stressful.
Horribly missed 2 point conversion. Josh Allen stinks.
He was so bad. He was so pissed. The clear fuck, he just like slammed his helmet down. Yeah, he was obviously not thrilled. Things to look at off season wise. I don't see much different for the Eagles. AJ Brown could very well be gone. I guess that's probably the biggest thing to look at for the off season for them. Given how everything played out this year, it definitely was a happier second half. AJ Brown ended up having very nice games and having a much bigger role. And I mean, let me check the stats. I think he probably ended up as like a top 12 receiver on the year overall, stats wise. So that's cool. But I could see them moving on from him. I think he's still in contract, but I think it would have to be a trade. And I'm pretty sure they're towards the back end of his deal now where it's not going to be anything crazy to move on from him. And Howie's pretty good about moving on from guys earlier than too late. So that's the biggest offseason story. Devontae Smith's locked in with a big contract. He's only like 27 years old still. Saquon is still under contract. They're not moving on from Jalen Hurts. Let's not be fucking crazy. I mean, you could listen to sports talk radio for long enough and hear somebody say, "Oh, they need to get rid of Hurts," but he's a Super Bowl champion, gets it done. It's Hurts again.
Yeah, AJ Brown was wide receiver 9.
There you go.
It does not feel like he should be wide receiver 9 after the first half of the season that he had. People were rage dropping, rage trading.
Yeah. He's almost the wide receiver equivalent to the way Chase Brown's season went.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, games with 0, games with 1 catch for 8 yards, where it was, like you said, people rage dropping and rage trading him. And at whatever point it was when there was this big blow up and they just decided to get him more involved, he's been wonderful. So you figure if he's wide receiver 8 or 9 with nothing in the beginning of the year, that shows you how incredible he's been for the last back end of the year. So, yeah, AJ Brown is the big thing to keep an eye on for me for the Eagles this offseason. We'll see what happens there. With the Bills, James Cook is awesome. Really surprising, man. He did the holdout, and that almost always bites people in the ass, but he held out and he led the NFL in rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if McCaffrey or Bijan maybe overtook him at the end of this week, but I know he was leading the NFL that going into this week.
He's still leading.
Okay, there you go. So he's been fucking fantastic. Josh Allen is going to be the first or so quarterback taken for good reason. He's just wonderful for the NFL and for fantasy. Their receiving core is just a weird one. Shakir, Shavers, Kincaid, Knox. It's not great for fantasy. We'll see. Maybe they make a splash. Maybe they bring somebody in. But yeah, Cook and Allen and role players basically.
Yeah, can they live like this forever with Josh Allen? They brought in Amari Cooper, didn't throw to him. Brought in Keon Coleman, basket case. They let Stephon Diggs go, which might have been a good move because he might be a basket case. They bring in Brandon Cooks almost off the street and gets 118 yards. 118 yards against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was in that range.
A massive, huge clutch catch to even give him a shot at that touchdown at the end of the game. Yeah. Yeah, man. I think that was payback from the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Super Bowl 52. Brandon Cooks got decapitated. Malcolm Jenkins hit Brandon Cooks so hard in the first quarter of that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I remember that.
He did not play another snap. I think Brandon Cooks had been holding on to that for 7 years, 8 years, whatever it was, and was like, I'm getting these Eagles this week, man. Fuck them.
Man, like, will the Bills change their game plan? Because, I mean, we're a fantasy football show, but they haven't made a Super Bowl.
Yep.
They need like a long, hard look in the mirror. Easy for me to say, sitting in my pajamas. They need to change something. That run defense is atrocious. They have no receivers. The window on Allen and Lamar Jackson for Super Bowl appearances, let alone Super Bowl wins, is running out, and that trickles down to fantasy football as well. Can this blueprint last forever if they're not winning games?
No. I mean, it obviously can't. Josh Allen is a stud, but he's not superhuman. He's human. So he cannot just keep getting physically beat up and doing everything himself. It's not sustainable. So hopefully, for his sake and for their own success, they figure out some good moves to make and bring in somebody that can do what Stephon Diggs did for him a few years back and really give them some balance, because if James Cook can play like this and they can be threatening in the passing game, they'd be damn near unstoppable.
Speaking of damn near unstoppable, look at the next game, 38-42, just no defense whatsoever.
No, defenses did not show up. They just overslept. They were still at the hotel. It was just scrimmage game out there.
It was flag football, and it was beautiful.
It really was, except for DJ Moore stayed home with the defenses too. Oh my God, yet another stinker where Roma Dunze was out. I know I had DJ Moore, not so much in one of my lineups for the title game because I was like excited to have him. It's a league where I went real heavy on running back, so he just happened to be one of my 3 best receivers to start that week. But hey, I figured Rome's out again. Not a terrible thing. This game's probably going to be high scoring, which it was. And DJ Moore got you that same stat line that like Tet got you. So yeah, rough. Got to be excited about the Bears' offense overall, though, outside of DJ Moore, because Loveland looked awesome, Burden looked awesome, Caleb has been very fucking good this year. He's exciting. He should only continue to improve. So, got to be pretty hyped for the Bears just in general going forward. Monangai and Swift both played well. Christian McCaffrey did Christian McCaffrey stuff. Jake Tonjes was the fucking tight end 3 on the week. Yeah. Just if Kittle's not playing, Tonjes has become the Alexander Madison level handcuff, that golden handcuff. But in the case of tight end, it kind of stinks to have to roster a backup tight end. It's unrealistic to do that in redraft leagues. But if you have Kittle in a dynasty league with big benches, go pay up and get fucking Jake Tonjes, because if you can just start the San Fran tight end 1 every week, they're fucking awesome.
Yes.
And Brock Purdy, man, holy shit. Dude has been on a fucking heater.
It's that system. The system's good for quarterbacks. It's good for running backs. It's good for tight ends. You know, you just, George Kittle gets injured, you just take a new George Kittle out of the package and you plug him in, and he's top 3 tight end.
It's amazing. Yeah. Jennings was quiet but had the late touchdown. So Jennings was, a lot of people, I think a decent amount of people ended up starting him, and so he didn't completely burn you. Ended up with like a 13-point game or something like that because he got in the end zone. Yeah, I don't think a ton storyline wise for them this offseason. Pearsall finally looked healthy and was involved, so you figure he'll be an off-season sleeper type, post-hype sleeper. I don't know if he qualifies for that, but Pearsall will be hyped up all off-season.
I will draft too much Ricky Pearsall, and I'm ready to be hurt again.
We'll see
Because
what
so is Ricky.
we'll see what they do in the playoffs too. If Pearsall just is steadily involved in however many playoff games they end up playing in, his stock will definitely go through the roof because it'll all just come back up that he was a first round pick. That the only reason he hasn't produced is because of injury. The Shanahan system's great for everybody. So yeah, if Pearsall performs well in the playoffs, he'll be hyped up to a level where I won't be buying any of them. But I do like him as a prospect and is a nice piece moving forward.
Is Brandon Ayuk done or a stash?
I think he's done with the Niners. They literally took away, they removed some of his pay, or they were able to do. I have to look. I don't want to misquote it, but something happened where they basically voided a big chunk of his contract. So it was. I think it's clear that the relationship there's done. For the fact that he's just lived on IR and he's not wasting any roster space for you, and you can just put him on an IR slot. I certainly think he's worth maybe not going and buying him directly, but adding him into a trade. You're back and forth with somebody on a trade. You guys are close. Hey, what if I throw in a third and you throw in Ayuk or something along those lines to get a deal done? I think he's a stash. We've seen Brandon Ayuk be excellent on the football field before. He's 26, 27. I think he's the same age, the same draft class as Devontae Smith, those guys. So yeah, I'm okay getting him on the cheap or just leaving him stashed, but I also would not be hyper shocked if we never hear anything from Brandon Ayuk again.
Just rides off into the sunset at 110 miles an hour, just like Deontay Johnson. Or
yeah, him and Deontay Johnson will go play some Canadian football or something like that.
maybe he'll go be a Mike Tomlin stunt double.
Yeah, it's possible. They definitely look alike. Funny enough, not that anyone else would know this or know this guy, but my last manager, not my current manager at T-Mobile, but the last store I worked at, African dude named Dio, cool as shit, love the guy. He looks just like Mike Tomlin. It's remarkable. He looks more like Mike Tomlin than Brandon Ayuk. I wish I had a picture to show the podcast, but anyway, if you're ever at the in Easton, Pennsylvania, and you go by a T-Mobile store, you might see a guy that is a doppelganger for Mike Tomlin.
Finally, this Monday Night Football game. When Jared Verse got that scoop and score, I'm like, man, Brian's punching the air right now.
I told you, he's one of the most hated fucking players, but he's so fucking good. That's what makes me hate him even more. Is he's just this huge, cocky, he's from this area and he hates the Eagles and goes out of his way to say how much he hates the fucking Eagles.
They're pretty hateable.
He's so fucking good, man. He is just so disruptive and always in the backfield and getting the pick six this week. Yeah, man. It was definitely a fun game to watch. If it came down to it and you needed points from Bijan, you needed points from McCaffrey or Tonjes, it was fun. Puka got it done. I mean, he got the touchdown. He may just sweat for it, but it was Puka's, worst game in a while. So there was plenty of people that went into that game just needing Puka to get them 20 or even 17, and he got you 14 or 15, I think, is what Puka's stat line ended up being. So that's a rough one. If you've been riding Puka all year and you just needed him to get you 15 and a half points last night, and you didn't get it, and he got you 14, that's a fucking tough way to lose. But yeah, he's incredible. What he does when he's on the field, the only thing you can say about Puka is he's semi-injury prone, I guess. He's certainly missed some time, but if he's on the field with Matt Stafford, with Sean McVay scheming them up, he's as scary of a wide receiver and as scary of a dynasty and fantasy football player as you could ever play against. He is fucking amazing. He's as good as Jamar Chase for fantasy. He's as good as Bijan Robinson for fantasy. He's can drop a 40 burger on you at any given time. So yeah, man, Puka is the truth.
This might not be the best measuring stick, but week 9, Puka played 49% of the snaps, 95 yards and a touchdown. In week 14 against the Cardinals, he played 44% of the snaps, 167 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Cardinals. Dude didn't even play half the game.
Right. It's incredible.
And roast me, I got roasted in the chat. That was a catch. That was a catch, Lee. He bobbled it, yes, but he appeared to have full control as he landed.
Yeah.
I mean, that, like, if the ball is moving on the ground or if he desed it, not a catch. He bobbled
it wasn't moving
in the air and regained control.
I was, as they were, going through the 7,000 replays before they made the final call, I was 50-50, and I was leaning towards that they were going to call it a catch because I just kept thinking that the final straw was you didn't see that shit move at all. Like, after the juggling or whatever you want to call it, like, that shit just stayed frozen. You didn't see any movement. But, yet another case where we'll talk about that catch and if it was a catch or not for a long time. But I don't think you needed to be roasted for that. I think you can make an argument for that being a catch very easily.
Man, I wonder how many fantasy Super Bowls were lost by that potential catch, or
yeah.
I'm sure it happened somewhere.
Oh, that was how long of a catch would that have
been? 35 yards.
So you figure that's in a PPR league. That's 6-3. That's a 10-point play. How many people had Puka and lost by 10 or less points? Probably a whole lot, because if you had Puka was probably on like 60% of teams in the finals or something astronomical like that, and a lot of them probably lost by less than 10 points.
Man, it sucks that week 18 has become so insignificant, but I guess this was like the true week 18 for fantasy, to have like the whole season coming down to this one moment. And
yeah.
I'm glad the game wasn't a blowout. There was some good fantasy goodness from Bijan and Puka, but just one more week of fantasy would be good, but just week 18, just such a shit show.
Yeah. A couple things just to look out for with these teams. You obviously have Bijan. Pitts did enough this year that they're giving him a contract. At worst, they're franchising him. So Pitts will be back locked in. Drake London's back locked in. Bijan's obviously locked in. I'd assume that
Kirk Cousins back.
I'm saying they have to go to Penix. I mean, I'd assume that it's Penix week 1. I don't think they go to Cousins, but
I don't think his knee's not going to be ready.
Yeah, well, maybe it's Kirk Cousins. With the Rams, if they make a nice title push or even win the Super Bowl, does Stafford retire?
Stafford and Adams retire, yes.
How about if they don't win the Super Bowl, though?
If they lose the Super Bowl?
They lose the Super Bowl or they lose the NFC Championship, say.
I think Stafford comes back. He's looked so good.
Yeah. Rejuvenated. So that obviously has a huge level to do with the Rams' success and how well Puka can do. So that's a big one to keep an eye out on. But yeah, man, I mean, we'll wrap it up there. I didn't want to go. I think what we'll end up doing as far as our off-season stuff is we'll do some deep reviews on players, teams. We'll look at the top 20. Look at the top 20 overall for like the positions and how they finished, and kind of break it down a little bit what our thoughts are. Some of them are a little fluky. Some guys finish in the top 20, but it's because of like 2 huge games, aka like the Kyler Murray thing every year where it's like, oh, Kyler was a top 8 quarterback, and it's like, yeah, because he had 2 40-point games and then fucked you every other week. So yeah, we'll look at stuff like that. I didn't want to go too deep into stuff while we're at a skeleton
Disadvantage.
crew, so to
Yeah.
speak. We'll wait till we get our star wide receiver one back into to go into anything too deep. We got the Week 18 preview up here. There's no one should be playing fucking fantasy football in Week 18. I'm not. You're not. So we're not going to go through the whole preview here. But what are the games that actually really matter? The Sunday night football game is a playoff game, so that's cool. I mean that'll be fun to watch. That's just a fun ass rivalry as far back as I can remember too. So that'll be a fun game. No DK Metcalf, so and that fucking a what an asshole, what an idiot. Didn't they weren't they able to void out like $40-something million of his contract for that too? For like 40 million. I have to look it up, but I remember hearing somewhere that they were, because of him, whatever that penalty was or that suspension was, detrimental to the team behavior, detrimental to the league behavior, that they were able to wipe like $40 million of his guarantees off of his contract.
Yeah, I'm sure not only game paychecks, but fine from the league. It's significant.
Yeah, you got to be a little smarter than that. I don't care what that guy said to him. Just walk away. Just go ahead and go back to the locker room, take a shower, drive your fucking, Land Rover home to your supermodel wife and mansion, and live to see another day.
If you're on the sidelines in an NFL game, you've got to be 30 to 40 feet from the fans. Can you hear can you really hear that heckling from the stand? I wouldn't think so. But apparently this guy has been haunting him since Seattle. So he must have seen that guy.
I guess.
You still got to just focus on the task at hand, turn the other cheek. How do you hear noise? I don't even know. I don't even understand how the players hear the plays in the huddle. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just kind of shocking. But yeah, so Week 18, we got the fun Sunday night game. Most of these other games, you're going to have backups or starters playing limited roles and looking at, purposely putting a lot of backups and rookies in just to see what they have, what they can do on the real field. So really nothing I'm looking at outside of that basically playoff game there on Sunday Night Football.
If you're doing any fantasy football related wagers this week, just do like DFS, Underdog, Coward Holics. If you're even brave enough to do something like that, this is just to sit back and watch the game of football,
right,
with probably Josh Johnson. You're going to see Riley Leonard. You're going to see Max Brosmer. You're going to see Brady Cook. You're going to see
viewers.
Essentially week 3 of the preseason in some cases.
Yeah, for sure. This time of year, with how much I grind on all the dynasty leagues and everything, I like to take a few weeks off. As far as like my dynasty leagues in particular, like especially the ones I commission, I will sit down. My next day off is New Year's Day. I'll sit down and like the 12 that I commission, I will go through and list the draft order with the max points for and the playoff standings, just so everybody knows what their draft slot is. I'll allocate the the league safe payouts so everybody gets their money. But then I purposely just kind of leave my leagues in limbo with the waivers locked for usually through the Super Bowl, because I feel like I need a break. No dynasty league bad because there's a few weeks of just freeze chill time during the NFL playoffs. Just watch pro football, enjoy it. Hopefully your team's still in it, and then like right after the Super Bowl, I'll unlock rosters. I will, I don't even really lock rosters. Like if teams want to make trades, they can make trades. If they want to move around free agent stuff, they can make free agent moves. I'm just kind of inactive. I'm not really doing a ton. I like to just kind of reset and watch football these next couple weeks. Obviously, we'll still do the pod each Tuesday. Maybe we'll switch up the day of the week now that the the regular season and the regular season schedule stuff's over. But we'll be here for you every week. We'll give you some more formatted shows and breakdowns of positions, and obviously a lot of focus on the incoming rookies and dynasty leagues and trades and shit like that going forward for the off season. But hell of a ride, and man, it's been fun doing this every Tuesday. Just really getting to break down and preview the games and bullshit with you guys and take your questions and everything. And we will keep it rocking on the off season for sure.
Yeah, keep up with the page. Fat Boys will still be doing shows through the off season. It's been a lot of fun. You know, the difference makers is the players you add. The players have been dropped, players that were dropped in like week 4 that everybody's completely forgotten about. Those are the moves that will win you your league next season. But yeah, now's just playoff football. Hopefully your team made it. My team, the Colts, started great. They are on the outside looking in most likely. But yeah, we'll have awesome off-season stuff on the Fantasy Holics page. The NFL draft is approaching quickly. Yeah, hopefully you'll still be tuning in, listening to our takes and adding your own takes and hot takes and predictions for next year. Let us know where we were wrong this year. I was wrong. I knew JT McCarthy sucks. I know it. Call me out as much as you want. Christian McCaffrey played a full season. Love to see it. I did not see that coming at all. Yeah, thanks for tuning in and listening to us for this NFL season. We got plenty of good stuff coming your way in the off season and into next season as well.
Absolutely, man. Well, everybody have a safe and happy New Year's. We will catch you guys in calendar year 2026.
Yes. Uber tomorrow night, everybody. Uber or walk, please.
Or be an old man like me and fucking drink at your house. It's great. I cannot get a DUI going from the man cave to the bedroom. It's fucking wonderful.
There you go.
Absolutely, man. Well, cheers. Appreciate you guys tuning in every week, and we will catch you next Tuesday.
Have a good one.